But so take what you said before about like if somebody's really into trains or into chemistry or something like that. Like the idea of saying like what does that mean in real terms in terms of a school? Is the idea like if you take that to follow the thread all the way, is it that like we should truly like give kids control over their own education in some ways? Like I know not completely because they're kids and there has to be some kind of
Yeah.
supervision and structure to it. But is the thought like, to put it simply, we should let kids follow whatever it is they want to learn. And if you net it out, they will be better off because of that than if you give them this very structured standard curriculum that they have to follow, that they'll be better off in that way. And what's the thinking around that? I mean, I get it on a higher level, but at a deeper level, why are they better off?
I believe that that is the way to go. And I think a really great data point to support this is just this explosion of ADD and ADHD and
Mm.
medicating children. And if you look at the correlation between screen time, recess time getting cut, more structure, more tests,
Mm.
more, sorry to say it, crap, and the rise of ADD and ADHD, personally, I think they're absolutely correlated. Like one of my team members, her son is on the spectrum. He's so smart, like absolutely brilliant, but they won't put him into a higher grade because he hasn't passed certain aspects
Mm.
of first grade. So he's getting in trouble for being too smart.
Mm.
And I think that is just so unacceptable because our job as parents and communities should be to grow and cultivate those skills and that expertise. And if they want to go tinker on code for 12 hours, who knows, they could go solve some sort of something that we've needed for 100 years. And so I think when we stop thinking about like you have to fit into this societal mold, and we rather think about how can you make the biggest difference, have fulfillment, like really move things forward, and then that's when this whole system could change,
Mm.
because it's not about being homogenous. It's about everyone's here because we have specific gifts and talents, and some of us are better problem solvers or engineers or scientists. Some of us aren't, and that's okay. And I think that I'm probably going to say an unpopular opinion, but I think we've put so many guardrails up that we're actually making ourselves dumber and
Mm.
not letting the natural evolutionary process
Mm.
take place that will actually improve so many different things across the board.
Mm. Well, you went exactly where I was thinking too, because one of the places people go in this type of conversation is they start to look at metrics and they start to look at, you can look at all different metrics, but like country-wide metrics. And, there's the common knowledge now that the US is kind of constantly falling behind on that. And it's interesting because like in some ways you could look at it and say, we're falling behind for the reasons you're saying, right? Like there's a problem in the school system. We need to fix it. And in some ways, there's another view of it, which is like the problem is we don't have enough. Like we need to add more tests. We need state testing. We need to track more. We need to look at it more. We're not being stringent enough with our students. And like, there's I'm not saying this generalize or stereotype in any means, but there's a belief that like Asian countries, as an example, are much more structured in how they teach their
Mhm.
kids, and as a result, they're scoring a lot better on those rankings often, right? So like it starts to get really complicated in how you think about it. And I think what you're saying, which I think is a really interesting, you said it might be unpopular. I think it's super interesting, is like we need to rethink what's the objective of education. Like, what's the point of what we're trying to do? Are we trying to score the highest on those metrics? Obviously not. Why do those metrics exist? Well, there's a belief, and I think if you start following that thread, there's this view of like efficiency is what it comes to. It goes back to what you said before with the kind of like the factory model. But
Mhm.
even if you remove like the literal factory of it, I think there is a general belief, which maybe is a good one, I don't know, or an assumption that like for society to function, there has to be a structure. We need people who understand how to participate in society, understand, frankly, how to conform, how to follow directions, how to kind of do what's better for the collective. And if you let that natural evolution process play out, as you said, although there's definitely benefits, which are beautiful, it allows people to be themselves and be who they are. does society suffer as a result of it? Do we become too disparate? Do we become too fragmented? I'd like to think what you're saying is true, that like, no, we actually let people fall into their lanes of where they belong and everybody's better off because of it. But I think we have to explore it. Like, do you consider
Mhm.
the risk side of it that society can't function if we go too much in that direction in what you're saying?